Hi guys. So the big news last week is that the species that has long been believed to have become extinct in Malaysia has once again been sighted in Putrajaya. Two members of the species, known as principal politicians, were discovered in Putrajaya on the 28th of May when Rafizi and Nik Nazmi both resigned as cabinet ministers within hours of each other because they lost the party position in the recently concluded PKR elections. Rafizi had said from the very beginning that he would resign if he lost his deputy presidency. But Nik Nazmi, although never saying anything to the point previously, would follow Rafizi's example by also resigning his cabinet position a few hours after Rafizi had submitted his resignation. The reason they gave was simple. They became cabinet ministers due to their party position. So now that they have lost their party position, the right thing to do is give up their cabinet position. Simple. The simplicity of their explanation, consistency of their action, and their ability to put their principle above their self-interest is still astounding Malaysians until today. In a country that is used to hearing geriatric half-past six politicians saying that they have no interest in power, wealth, or position, but only desire to serve the people and the nation, but refuse to give up their addiction to power, even when they are 100 years old and are found to have millions, sometimes billions of ringgit stashed in their bank account, or in the hands of their binamis, or in the name of family members. The conduct of these 240-something politicians who gave up their power and position in the prime of their career have hit Malaysians like a breath of fresh air. At number 2, a prestigious yet forgettable Asian summit occurred in KL. The world is in trouble and ASEAN is amongst the entities that will likely have a seat at the table that will discuss the trouble. ASEAN might not want to be a part of the trouble, but it doesn't matter what we want because when the trouble occurs, we are going to be dragged into it anyhow. Of all the countries in ASEAN, Malaysia is actually looking quite prominent. When Trump announced he was going to confront China in a trade war, Malaysia was amongst the first countries that President Xi Jinping visited, as if to signal to America that China is not without friends or allies. The first three countries that President Xi visited, as a matter of fact, were all members of ASEAN. Recently, President Anwar, sorry, Prime Minister Anwar had also visited Russia and shared a great rapport with President Putin. That last week, we also hosted the 46th ASEAN Summit in KL, which brought together the Gulf Cooperation Council, or GCC, and China was thus a prestigious occasion for us. It is making us look like a rather important country in the affairs of the world today. Optics-wise, we might look prominent for doing things like hosting the Asian Summit, but effectively speaking, the Asian Summit likely achieved nothing much. Roads were closed, leaders of many countries congregated here in KL, some declarations were made, the trouble between China and America was discussed, the Sultan of Brunei got sick and was admitted to IJN. But otherwise, it was all mostly just a sound and fury sort of event, signifying nothing, regardless of whether the summit had happened or not, and nothing much would have changed. At number 3, RON 95 subsidies is going to be introduced very soon. According to reports, it is going to be introduced somewhere in the second half of the year, which should be coming soon in June. Most of us likely will have to show our IC at the petrol pump to get RON 95 at a discount. I say most of us because other than the top 5% in the country, we will likely have to buy RON 95 at market rate. The remaining 95% of us will still be able to get RON 95 at the subsidized rate. Is there a cap to how much petrol each of us can get petrol at a subsidized rate? What happens if we lose our IC? Will we have to pay the market rate? All these questions, I suppose, will likely be answered in the coming days. At number 4, Petros and Petronas frenemy relationship continues. Petros says that all the oil and gas in Sarawak belongs to Sarawak. Petronas says that all oil and gas found in Malaysia belongs to Malaysia. They have been having a tiff as to who is right and wrong for a long time. And going by the events that unfolded last week, it looks like their tiff is likely going to continue for the foreseeable future. On the face of it, Petronas and Petros seem to have a great relationship. They keep telling us that they wish each other well and only want good things to happen to each other. But their actions don't seem to correspond with their expressions. Last year in December, Petronas and Petros had declared that they had already settled their differences. But later on, it turns out actually they haven't. A couple of weeks ago, on the 13th of May, Abang Joe, the Premier of Sarawak, again claimed that he had settled the differences between Petronas and Petros with Anwar, and Anwar will announce the term of the settlement in 2 days. Anwar, however, will only announce the term of the settlement more than a week later, and the term of the settlement that he announced looks like it's pretty much the same as the terms that was agreed upon last December, which did not succeed in resolving the tiff between Petronas and Petros. If the key failed to unlock the door on the first try, will it succeed on the second try? Well, if you ask Petronas and Petros, I suppose their answer will be yes, it will. Anyway, right after Petros and Petronas deal was struck last week, the signs that Petronas and Petros are still at odds continue. First, a Sarawak politician claimed that Petronas's day in Sarawak are numbered. Then, the Sarawak government also announced that moving forward, Petronas will of course be allowed to continue its business in Sarawak as usual. But now, it will have to ask for permission from the Sarawak government to do so. If it asks for permission, it will be granted, but it will have to ask. By the looks of it, it doesn't look like Petronas and Petros have settled the question as to whether the oil found in a state or region in Malaysia belongs to the state or region or the federation as a whole. Going by that, I for one expect more fireworks to come from these two oil companies in the coming days. Anyway guys, that's all that I have for you for this week. I hope you have a good day. Thanks for watching. Take care.